The gentle hum of machines filled Dr. Hand's isolated research station as he analyzed soil samples from the surrounding forest. Located deep in the mountains, the station served as both workplace and home for the dedicated scientist, allowing him uninterrupted focus on his environmental studies. A sudden crash outside broke the evening stillness. Hand paused his work, setting down the microscope slide and reaching for his flashlight. Probably a fallen branch, he thought, but caution had become second nature during his 3 years in isolation. The beam of light revealed something impossible as he stepped outside. A small craft, clearly not of Earth design, had plowed a furrow through the dirt less than 50 meters from his door. The smooth metal surface shimmered with an otherworldly blue glow despite the visible damage to its hull. Han approached carefully, his heart racing. The scientific part of his mind cataloged details while the rest struggled to accept what he was seeing. Before he could decide what to do, a section of the craft slid open, releasing a hiss of unfamiliar air. A figure emerged, humanoid but unmistakably alien. Her skin had a pale lavender tint that seemed to shimmer in the moonlight. Where human hair would be, delicate tendrils moved slightly as if stirred by an unfelt breeze. Her eyes, large and completely silver, blinked rapidly as she adjusted to Earth's atmosphere. "Help," she said in clearly practiced but accented English. "Damaged systems. Need shelter." Han stood frozen for several seconds before his scientific training overcame his shock. "Are you injured?" he asked, keeping his voice calm despite his racing pulse. "No injuries to body. Ship beyond repair." She gestured to the smoking craft. "Nayla sent distress signal before crash. My people will come, but need time." Han nodded, trying to process this extraordinary situation. "I'm Dr. Han. You can stay at my station until help arrives." "I am Mina," she replied, pressing her hand to her chest in what he assumed was a greeting gesture. "Thank you for shelter." As they walked toward the station, Han noticed she moved with unusual grace despite her obvious exhaustion. Inside, she surveyed the modest living quarters with evident curiosity. "This shelter is private?" she asked. "Yes, just me. I study the forest ecosystem. The nearest town is about 3 hours away by car." Mina nodded. "Good. Privacy is necessary now." She paused, seeming to search for words. "My biology is entering a cycle. Not dangerous to you, but private for my people." Han offered her water, which she examined before drinking cautiously. "What kind of cycle?" "I'm a scientist. Maybe I can help." Mina set down the glass. "Similar to what Earth creatures experience during reproduction seasons. Changes body chemistry. Makes emotions stronger." She looked away, clearly uncomfortable. "Very private matter." Han respected her discomfort and changed the subject. "How long until your people arrive?" 3 Earth rotations, perhaps 4, she replied, looking relieved at the topic shift. "If you allow me to stay." "Of course," Han said immediately. "I can't turn away someone who needs help, regardless of what planet they're from." As evening progressed, Han prepared a simple meal, unsure if his visitor could eat Earth food. Mina examined each item carefully, testing small portions. She seemed particularly drawn to fruits, examining their structure with fascination. "These plant reproductive structures are similar to those on my world," she explained, studying an apple slice. Han noticed subtle changes in her appearance as the night wore on. The tendrils framing her face moved more actively, and her skin developed a faint pattern of darker purple markings that hadn't been visible before. When Han prepared a sleeping area, Mina thanked him, but explained she would need to return to her ship periodically to use medical supplies. "My cycle progresses," she said quietly. "The changes will become more noticeable. I hope this does not cause discomfort." "I'm just glad I can help," Han replied, trying to hide his scientific curiosity behind politeness. As Mina gazed out the window at the stars, Han noticed her hands trembling slightly. Whatever this cycle was, it clearly affected her strongly. Despite the extraordinary circumstances, he felt a simple human connection, the universal experience of helping someone in need. As Mina gazed out the window at the stars, Han noticed her hands trembling slightly. Whatever this cycle was, it clearly affected her strongly. Despite the extraordinary circumstances, he felt a simple human connection, the universal experience of helping someone in need. That night, as Han lay awake listening to the unfamiliar sounds of Mina moving quietly around the station, he realized his orderly scientific life had been forever changed by this unexpected visitor from the stars. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Han's research station as he prepared a simple breakfast. 2 days had passed since Mina's unexpected arrival, and he still found himself stealing glances at his alien guest, marveling at her otherworldly features. Mina sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed in what appeared to be deep meditation. The tendrils around her face moved slowly, like underwater plants swaying with the tide. The purple markings on her skin had grown more pronounced overnight, forming intricate patterns across her arms and neck. "Morning meal is ready," Han said softly, not wanting to disturb her too abruptly. Mina's silver eyes opened. "Thank you. The scent is intense." She rose gracefully and approached the table, though Han noticed a slight unsteadiness in her movements. "Are you feeling unwell?" he asked, setting down a plate of fruit and toast. "The cycle progresses," she replied, her voice slightly strained. "My senses grow sharper. Sounds, smells, feelings, all become stronger. It is challenging." Han nodded, trying to understand. "Like sensory overload." "Yes, a good comparison." Mina picked up a strawberry, examining it before taking a small bite. Her eyes widened. The taste, so much stronger than yesterday. Han watched as she placed a hand on the table to steady herself. "Is there anything I can do to help?" Mina hesitated. "On my world, we have special rooms with controlled environments for this time. Dim lights, certain scents, specific sounds." She looked around the small station. "Your home is very bright, very loud." Han hadn't considered his humble cabin loud, but he understood that her heightened senses might perceive things differently. "I can make some changes. Darken the windows, speak more quietly." "That would help," she said with evident relief. Throughout the day, Han modified the station to better accommodate Mina's changing needs. He covered windows with spare blankets, moved noisy equipment to the storage shed, and spoke in hushed tones. He observed with scientific curiosity as Mina's condition evolved. The patterns on her skin would pulse occasionally, especially when she seemed stressed. In the afternoon, Mina attempted to check her ship's communication systems. Han accompanied her to the crash site, noting how she winced at the sound of birds and the rustle of leaves underfoot. "Your planet sings so loudly," she commented, covering her ears briefly as a woodpecker drummed against a distant tree. Inside the damaged craft, Mina's slender fingers moved across unfamiliar controls. Han stood back, fascinated by the alien technology. The interior was surprisingly small, with what appeared to be medical equipment taking up much of the space. "No response," Mina finally said, her shoulders slumping. "The storm last night may have damaged the signal relay. How long can you manage your condition with what you have here?" Han asked carefully. Mina's tendrils curled inward, a gesture he was beginning to recognize as discomfort or worry. 3 more days, perhaps. After that, the cycle becomes more difficult without proper management. That evening, as they shared a quiet meal, Mina seemed more willing to discuss her situation. "This cycle happens 4 times in our solar rotation. For most, it is a simple biological process, managed with special chambers and sometimes medication." "Is it dangerous?" Han asked. "Not typically. Uncomfortable, yes. Our bodies prepare for potential reproduction, even when that is not our intention." She looked away, clearly embarrassed. "It is not something we discuss with outsiders." Han nodded, respecting her privacy while satisfying his scientific curiosity. Human females experience something similar monthly, though perhaps less intense. This comparison seemed to ease Minna's discomfort. Then you understand. My people simply have more pronounced changes. Our senses heighten, our emotions intensify, our skin displays patterns that reveal our state. She gestured to the swirling marks on her arms. These show I am in the early phase. As night fell, Minna's discomfort became more apparent. She paced the darkened station, her movements agitated. Han noticed how the patterns on her skin glowed faintly in the dim light. The night is always harder, she explained when she caught him watching. Our bodies align with our moons. Your single moon pulls at me differently. Han offered her tea, which she accepted gratefully. Their fingers brushed during the exchange, and he noticed Mina's immediate reaction, her tendrils flaring outward, the patterns on her skin brightening momentarily. I apologize, she said quickly, stepping back. Physical contact during this time is overwhelming. Han nodded in understanding, watching as Mina retreated to the corner she had claimed as her space. Despite the strangeness of the situation, he felt a growing connection to this visitor from another world. Two beings from vastly different places, finding common ground in the universal experiences of discomfort, vulnerability, and the simple human act of offering help to someone in need. The sudden storm arrived without warning on the third night of Mina's stay. Rain lashed against the research station windows as lightning split the sky. Han rushed to secure loose equipment outside, while Mina watched from the doorway, her silver eyes reflecting each flash of lightning. This weather pattern is very strong, she observed, her voice barely audible above the howling wind. Mountain storms can be intense, Han replied, shaking water from his coat as he stepped back inside. But the station is built to withstand them. As if challenging his words, a tremendous thunderclap shook the building. The lights flickered once, twice, then went out completely. The sudden darkness was broken only by the eerie glow of Mina's skin patterns, which had grown bright enough to cast shadows. The power system has failed, Han said, reaching for the emergency lamp he kept by the door. When he switched it on, he turned to find Mina pressed against the wall, her breathing rapid and shallow. Mina? Are you all right? The electrical disturbance, she gasped, sliding down to sit on the floor. It affects me, intensifies the cycle. Her skin was now ablaze with pulsing patterns, far more pronounced than before. The tendrils around her face moved wildly, and Han could see she was fighting to maintain her composure. I must tell you everything now, Mina said, her voice strained. I hope to avoid this, but I need your help. Han sat across from her, keeping a respectful distance. Tell me what you need. My people call this time the luminescence, she began, gesturing to her glowing skin. It is more than just a reproductive cycle. It is a complete biological transformation that happens 4 times each year. Another lightning strike illuminated the room, and Mina winced as if in pain. The electrical energy in your atmosphere is triggering an acceleration of my cycle. What should take days is happening in hours. Han listened carefully as Mina explained that during luminescence, her species became hypersensitive to all stimuli. Their skin developed bioluminescent patterns that served as both communication signals and a way to release excess energy. Without the special chambers on her world designed to safely channel this energy, the process could become overwhelming. On my planet, we have special pools filled with mineral solutions that absorb the excess energy, she explained. Without them, the energy builds up painfully in the body. Is there anything here that could substitute? Han asked, his scientific mind already searching for solutions. Mina hesitated. Water with high mineral content might help temporarily. But I would need to be fully immersed. Han thought quickly. I collect rainwater for my experiments, and I have various mineral compounds in my lab. Would that work? Possibly, Mina said, a flicker of hope crossing her face. With the right mineral balance. She was interrupted by another crash of thunder. This time, She couldn't suppress a cry of pain as the patterns on her skin flared intensely. "We need to act quickly," Han said, rising to his feet. "Can you tell me what minerals you need?" Despite her discomfort, Minna described the composition of the special pools on her world. Han recognized many of the elements from his own work, though some were described in terms he didn't understand. Working by lamplight, Han filled his large research tub with rainwater and began adding measured amounts of the minerals from his lab stores. Minna directed him, her voice growing weaker as her condition intensified. "The balance must be precise," she warned as Han stirred the mixture. Too much of certain elements could be harmful rather than helpful. When the solution was ready, Han stepped outside to give Minna privacy. The storm continued to rage, but he barely noticed the rain soaking his clothes as he worried about his alien guest. After what seemed like an eternity, he heard Minna call his name. Returning inside, he found her sitting beside the tub, her skin noticeably calmer, though still glowing. "It helps," she said, obvious relief in her voice. "Not as effective as our pools, but enough to ease the worst symptoms." Han smiled, genuine happiness warming him despite his wet clothes. "I'm glad." "There is something else you should know," Minna said, her expression serious. "During luminescence, my people form deep connections with those who help us through the cycle. It is a biological response, creating bonds of trust." She looked directly at Han, her silver eyes intense. "In my culture, what you have done makes us connected in a way that goes beyond ordinary friendship. You have seen me at my most vulnerable, and you have helped without judgment." Han understood the significance of what she was saying. On Earth, we have similar concepts. Helping someone through difficulty creates special bonds between people. As the storm gradually began to subside outside, Han and Minna talked through the night, two beings from different worlds finding unexpected connection in a moment of crisis, their friendship deepening with each passing hour. The morning after the storm brought clear skies and new understanding between Han and Minna. The makeshift mineral bath had provided temporary relief, but as Minna explained over a simple breakfast, it was only a partial solution. "The luminescence will continue for 3 more days," she said, the patterns on her skin now pulsing in a slower, more controlled rhythm. "The mineral bath helps, but my people usually have other methods too." Han listened attentively while taking notes. His scientific curiosity had fully awakened, but more importantly, he wanted to help his new friend. "What other methods do your people use?" he asked. "Sound vibrations at specific frequencies help disperse the energy buildup," Minna explained. "And certain aromatic compounds can stabilize our neural pathways during the cycle." Han considered this information. "I have equipment that can generate sound waves, and possibly some plant extracts that might serve a similar function to your aromatic compounds." They spent the morning converting Han's small station into something that more closely resembled Minna's description of a luminescence chamber. Han adjusted his research equipment to emit low-frequency sound waves that Minna could feel rather than hear. He extracted oils from several native plants, testing each one carefully under Minna's guidance. "This one," she said when he presented a pale blue liquid extracted from a mountain flower. "This has similar properties to our calming essence." By midday, they had transformed the main room. The windows remained covered to reduce light sensitivity. Han's modified equipment hummed quietly in the corner, producing vibrations that seemed to ease the intensity of Minna's glowing patterns. The flower extract, diluted in water, filled small dishes around the room, creating a subtle aroma that Minna said helped clear her mind. "Your adaptation is impressive," Minna observed as she settled on a cushion in the center of the room. "Few of my people would believe that a solution could be found with such simple earth materials." Han smiled, pleased by her approval. "Humans are good at improvising. It's how we've survived for so long." As the afternoon progressed, Minna began teaching Han about her culture's approach to the luminescence. It wasn't merely endured, but celebrated as a time of heightened awareness and connection. "During this time, our artists create their most profound works," she explained. "Our scientists often make their greatest discoveries. The luminescence connects us more deeply to the universe around us. Han found this perspective fascinating. So it's not just a reproductive cycle, but a kind of mental and spiritual awakening. Exactly, Minna said, her silver eyes brightening. It is a time when boundaries between self and universe become more permeable. We experience everything more intensely, both pleasure and pain. Han thought about this. That explains why the storm affected you so strongly. Yes, in a controlled environment, the experience can be beautiful. Without proper management, overwhelming. In the evening, Minna showed Han the meanings behind some of her skin patterns. The swirling designs weren't random but formed a complex language visible only during luminescence. This pattern, she said, indicating a spiral on her wrist, represents gratitude. And this, she pointed to a starburst near her shoulder, signifies new understanding. Han was touched. Your body is literally expressing your feelings. Yes, during luminescence, we cannot hide our true emotions. It makes us vulnerable, which is why we usually only share this time with those closest to us. Han recognized the trust Mina was placing in him. I'm honored that you're willing to share this with me. As night fell, Minna needed another mineral bath. Han prepared it with growing confidence, adjusting the composition based on what they had learned worked best. While Minna soaked in the healing solution, Han used his satellite phone, now working again after the storm, to contact a colleague at the university who specialized in xenobiology. I need theoretical information about non-terrestrial biochemistry, he explained carefully, not revealing Mina's existence, but gathering valuable insights that might help her. Later that night, Han found Mina standing outside, gazing at the stars. Her skin glowed softly in the darkness, the patterns now flowing in graceful, controlled movements. Your methods are working, she said as he joined her. The discomfort is manageable now. Han nodded, pleased by their success. Our species are different in many ways, but our basic needs aren't so different. Connection, understanding, safety. These things seem universal. Mina turned to him, the gratitude pattern on her wrist glowing brightly. My people have a saying, knowledge divides, but wisdom unites. In helping me through this cycle, you've shown true wisdom. They stood together in comfortable silence, two beings from different worlds finding common ground under the vast canopy of stars that both separated and connected their distant homes. The dawn of the sixth day brought a new sound to the mountain valley, a faint humming that gradually grew louder. Han rushed outside, Minna following more slowly, her luminescent patterns now a gentle glow rather than the intense flares of days past. In the clearing above the research station, a craft similar to Minna's but much larger descended gracefully through the morning mist. Unlike her damaged vessel, this one moved with precise control, landing without disturbing even the surrounding grass. The rescue team, Minna said, her voice a mixture of relief and something that sounded almost like regret. They received my signal after all. Han stood beside her, watching as a section of the craft's smooth hull slid open. Two figures emerged, clearly of Minna's species but with notable differences. They lacked the glowing patterns on their skin, and their movements seemed more reserved and formal. The taller of the two approached, giving Minna what appeared to be a ceremonial greeting. They spoke briefly in their native language, a melodic series of sounds that reminded Han of flowing water. Minna turned to Han. This is Q, our medical specialist, and Day, the ship's navigator. They have come to bring me home. Han nodded politely to the visitors. Welcome to Earth. Q stepped forward, studying Han with open curiosity. You assisted our diplomat during luminescence. The translator device he wore rendered his words in slightly mechanical English. I did what I could, Han replied simply. Q turned to examine the makeshift accommodations visible through the open door of the research station, with Earth materials and knowledge. Remarkable. Dai, the navigator, seemed less impressed. We should depart quickly. The ship is drawing attention from your planet's tracking systems. Minna nodded but placed a hand on Han's arm. I must gather my belongings, and Dr. Han deserves proper thanks for his assistance. Inside the station, Han helped Minna collect the few items she had brought from her crashed ship. The room still bore the marks of their improvised luminescence chamber, covered windows, sound emitters, and bowls of plant extract. Your people seemed surprised that I was able to help, Han observed. Mina's tendrils moved in what he now recognized as amusement. They believe that only our technology could manage luminescence. Your creative solutions have challenged their assumptions. Q entered the station, his silver eyes widening as he examined Han's adaptations. You created a functional stabilization chamber with these primitive tools. Han might have taken offense at the word primitive, but the genuine amazement in Q's voice softened the impact. The principles are what matter, not the technology, Han explained. Once Minna helped me understand the requirements, finding Earth equivalents wasn't impossible. Q moved around the room, scanning various items with a small device. The mineral composition of your solution is remarkably close to our standard treatment, and these sound frequencies. He looked at Han with new respect. You have accomplished something unprecedented. Outside, Dag called for them to hurry. As they walked toward the waiting ship, Q continued to question Han about his methods and understanding of Minna's condition. At the ship's entrance, Minna turned to Han. The luminescence has ended, but its effects remain. My people believe that bonds formed during this time have special significance. Han nodded, understanding the deeper meaning behind her words. In human terms, we might call it friendship forged in adversity. More than friendship, Minna said softly. In our culture, you would be considered family now. Q, who had been listening to their conversation, stepped forward. Dr. Han, your assistance during Minna's cycle represents the kind of cross-species cooperation our people have long sought. Would you consider sharing your knowledge more formally? Han looked surprised. In what way? Our diplomatic corps has been considering establishing a permanent liaison with Earth, Q explained. Minna's experience suggests you would be an ideal partner for such an arrangement. Mina's skin patterns brightened with what Han now recognized as excitement. You could become our first official human contact, helping others understand our biology and culture as you helped me. Han looked between them, momentarily speechless. After years of isolation in his research station, studying the smallest details of Earth's ecosystem, he was being offered a chance to help bridge the gap between worlds. I would be honored, he said finally. As the morning sun rose higher, Han watched Minna board the ship with her people. She paused at the entrance, the gratitude pattern on her wrist glowing brightly. I will return soon, she promised. This is not an ending, but a beginning. The ship rose silently into the sky, disappearing into the clouds within moments. Han remained in the clearing long after it had gone, contemplating how an unexpected crash landing and an alien biology had changed the course of his life in just 6 short days. In his small research station, the equipment they had modified together still hummed softly, a reminder of how 2 different worlds had found common ground through science, compassion, and understanding.